ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I will just run through a presentation that will not hopefully take a lot of your time. Basically what we do here, I facilitate trade and investment opportunities to South Africa. And one of the things that we try and do well is, because we're so far from the markets that we serve, we try and encourage people to go and see what it is that we represent. And today it's actually very special for me because you get to see history in the making, and you get to see South Africa post and South Africa the future. And I think it's amazing, and that's the hope that I still think I will represent when we're out here. And when we say it's possible, it really is, given the journey that we've traveled as a country, as a people, and I'm privileged and honored to be speaking to you today. My presentation is very similar to, actually I will own it, thank you. It's very similar to what Mr. Pratt has just done, but I just want to give you an overview of slightly the economics, and I will dwell into the industry at the moment, but I'll also give you a video. I like that video because it puts things into perspective. However, today we celebrate our Freedom Day. So everything for us today is very special. Today at the consulate, if you didn't get an invite, it means you're not talking to me. We celebrate, we're hosting a lot of our stakeholders to a dinner and to a night of fun, just so we celebrate with you what our freedom represents. So you can see it's been a journey well traveled. That's what I want to cover today. I want to just talk about the overview of our economic position, some success story, and what we perceive our market to be like, as well as the opportunities here. And I take time to come and talk to you as real estate because it's considered the business of the rich people, which as government I'm not supposed to be doing. However, we see a lot of opportunities that comes from it because there's lots of money that flows, far much easier than just pure investment. And I see connections from that regard. Now, we read these papers and we all know The Economist, and about 13 years ago now, that was one of their headlines. And these people are quite independent, as you would know. We trust them. I have a background of investment banking. You want to check what the editor is about to write. And then The Economist came up and said the hopeless continent. And this was in year 2000. And you know of Africa that is dying, people are dying of HIV and AIDS, and there's war everywhere, and that's what they came out to say. But obviously, when you're South African and if people tell you that you are from, they tell you, oh, you're from Africa. Oh, I actually have a neighbor. Would you happen to know them? And so I went to a restaurant the other day and they said to me, oh, you have an accent. Where do you come from? Like South Africa. They're like, oh, Africa. Hang on just a minute. There's a guy from Uganda. Maybe you know him. I'll go get him. But you're talking about a continent that can fit 6 countries, ladies and gentlemen, 6 countries. And the United can fit quite comfortably in our continent, as well as India and China. Including our brothers from Europe and Argentina as well, given the square meter area of what we talk about when we say Africa. So it's a huge market. In its size, it creates a platform for opportunities. Coming from the West, it means that there is a huge market, which is completely different from what people are used to in business, from the US, even from the Asian side. Because that's the market that we're hopeful of. The same economists came back and said, Africa is hopeful, the sunshine bright, the continent's impressive growth looks like it's continuing. And we don't pay these people. They're very independent, we can't afford them. And we trust, oftentimes, you and I would trust whatever it is that they're reporting to us. So this is the hope I want to talk about. This is where my journey starts. And because we learn from history that we do not learn from history, and that's a quote that one of our own, Desmond Tutu, is known to say, the Africa that you think you know, it's not exactly the Africa that we talk about. From From an economics point of view, and I'll just run through the stats because I don't want to bore you with numbers, but we're talking about an expenditure of about 860 billion. We talk about people who are coming from rural areas. We have new cities now coming up, and we have a number of people that are looking for something that is new. People are tired of wars. People are tired of their children not being educated. And we want to show to the world that we're just as competitive as the girl next door, meaning Europe or Americas or Brazil. In that context, one of the things that we pride ourselves with will be our mobile technology. And if you check in South Africa, particularly not just in South Africa, this is a phenomenon that I've actually even observed in Nigeria, where you find a large number of people that are considered unbankable by banks. But through technology and through cell phones, because now everybody's got a cell phone, we operate on 2 cell phones, and you wonder how, but that's how people are managing their lifestyle. Such that people who are in rural provinces, states, we mean by that, are able to now receive money from the cities without having gone to the bank. So the trend in our continent is that cell phone network operators will overtake and acquire a lot of banks because of that. So you will instantly be able to send money from across the country within 10 minutes or so. This is something that does not happen in Chicago. I mean, in my house, I need to move around to get network, and I swear you will think I'm in Nigeria. But because of how technology from cell phones have just taken over, we're hopeful that a lot can be done through a cell phone. From a financial point of view. So this is the hope that we're talking about, but we also think we should think about the future. And in our thinking of the future, what it is that we have that the world doesn't have, we have young people, we have people that needs to be educated. Throughout Africa, this is. And we know for a fact, in order for us to grow, we need to educate them, we need to make sure that they're ready as a workforce. And we're creating income homes that are higher so that people should be able to not just buy food, but have the accessibility of going on holidays and saving up. And that's the kind of Africa that even if you go throughout, they have all these strategic plans to make sure that they're creating jobs and they're financing them in order for the locals to have jobs. And people are actually moving to cities. And you would find it's a trend that is happening throughout. This is a map to show you in context of where South Africa is. So the yellow would be South Africa, but we have to deal with the region on its own. And we talk about 12 countries. This is it's called SADC, so it stands for Southern African Development Community. And we kind of champion that because we regard ourselves as a gateway into that region. And what we're trying to do there is to create free trading zones. As you can see, you're able to move on the peripheries of the Indian Ocean to other regions. But what happens inside between Botswana, Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo? But we want to open up goods to be able to move through across the border with less restrictions. But the idea really is not just to create SADC and strengthen SADC because that is working, but the long-term vision is to make sure that we have Cape to Cairo, so we start from South Africa up to Egypt and every other country in between, but that takes a lot of cooperation from COMESA, from EAC as well as making sure that there still is stability that has been grounded from SADC. Now, we talk about the gateway into Africa, and it's important. This is the country we represent, this is South Africa. We say it's the biggest economy, but in advocacy of my African brothers and sisters, I would like to say it's not the biggest economy in terms of resources. It's the most organized of organization, of countries in the region. And we have an estimated population now is, you see, you must stop asking me for presentations before time, because my population is 52 people and counting. Today the exchange rate is 9.3, which should be very lucrative for people in this room. We speak officially 11 languages, as you've seen. Our real growth really has been estimated at 3%, considering the fact that we're highly dependent on what happens in Europe and highly affected by it. Our inflation rate is 4.1, and we export a lot of minerals to this region, as well as the Eurozone and China. That is our proximity to this market. I'll just talk about New York. It takes about 22 days. We host a lot of trade delegations and for export development to this region. It takes about 23 to be precise for everything to clear through customs. So we've tested that and we've seen it to be true, and it's working for us. That was to make sure you stay. Anyway, so what we say is, as South Africa, 50% of Africa's spending power comes from our country. We contribute 25% of Africa's GDP. 40% of Africa's industrial output comes from this country. So you can see how significant a country we are, not only in the region, but in the continent itself. And we want to strive to be better, and we want to move on. Hence, we still continue to have ties and look for investment opportunities, as well as drive our exports. Now, I just want to show, considering the fact that we're talking about history, this slide, I like it very much because it shows how we've moved on from where we were prior to our independence and democracy. So you would see that our GDP at the time was only $6 million, which had to grow to about $408 just in those are stats for 2011. However, you can see that after the sanctions were redeemed, we could see that we are now exporting to the world. And the difference is really like 10% from what we were. And the growth right now is obviously impacted by what's happening in the Eurozone, but we remain an open economy, we're diversifying, realize that we can't just be a resource-based industry, we're strengthening our manufacturing, and we're making sure that our investment, not only for the country, but for the region as well. And we still would like to believe that we are the gateway into Africa, given our sophistication and infrastructure, and how we've been navigating in other areas and other industries as well. I'm running through this, but from an export point of view, if you looked at the slide about 10 years ago, you would see that the United States was really number one in all of them. And that's why government still prioritizes this market to make sure that the partnerships is not lost and not everything is taken to other markets, but that we sustain it. And this is one of the commissions that remains very critical for that not only are you taking your money to Canada to go buy properties there, you should still consider us on that regard. From an FDI point of view, you remain number one on our accounts, and you will still remain like that because we facilitate a lot of investment, but also there's lots of portfolio investments that happens, and these are your saviors. A few years ago, these guys were doing due diligences, and most of them ended up doing investments, and we're proud to have them on our landscape, which goes to prove that most of your due diligences have been done, and you should just follow them because they're obviously buying properties there. That's why I take my time to come see you. Now, one of the agreements that really works is AGOA. It's not only open to, we don't have a direct FTA with the US, but with AGOA, it's a preferential treatment from a tax point of view, not only for South Africa, but for the whole of Africa, which was instituted by your Congress. And it is working, and it's highly benefiting our industries. And we're very proud about that, and we're hoping that it will continue to reap the rewards that it's doing.